So, anyone that knows me a little bit or follows my channel knows that I live in the South half the year, or a little more than half the year, and there's still a family home in New York, and there's another one in Connecticut, and I have an elderly mother in a nursing home in the South, and I have one sibling who lives near the nursing home. All right, that's the backdrop. I'm divorced. I have a significant other in the South, and yeah, back and forth. Channel is happy little life. We go on cruises. We do stupid, silly things. Whatever. I put up a whole plethora of different things. So, last year, when we drive back, we're older now. I'm 64 years old. He's older than me. So when we drive back from the Nashville area to upstate New York, it's a little under 1,000 miles, and we're older, and we just don't want to be in the car all day, whatever. So we've gotten to the point where we break it up to 4 days, where we do about 250 miles each day. Then we stop at a motel, and rest and, relax, whatever. But when I do those long trips, I'm sitting in the car longer, and I tend to drink less fluids because, I'm tired of having to feel like I have to pee and keep stopping and all this and that. So last year, when I got back a year ago, I took tons of stuff from the South back to New York because I was planning on staying for a good length of time, so I wanted to bring all my stuff back with me, or most of it, not all of it. So when we got back a year ago, not this July, but the July before, the car was packed. Plus, Laddie Boy was alive at the time, and I had him with me in the carrier with all his cat accoutrements, and he was very sick. So when we got in, it didn't take much to get everything out of the car and into the house, but then it was piled up. It's like moving. And so all the fabric thing, like clothing and textiles, I wash right away. So then I can put them away in New York, because even though Perry doesn't smoke in the house, he's a smoker, and I feel maybe a tobacco smell gets on things, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So the first day or two that I'm back, I'm doing laundry nonstop because I have too much stuff anyway. Then I'm trying to organize everything, unpack it, clean up the mess that's already here. When I get in, it's okay, I got to clean the sinks, the toilet bowls, the microwave, because the other family member that lives here, they do their best, but come on, they're not, And I mean, I'm not the most Betty Crocker, but, I like things to a certain level. So last year, after I got back, I felt like I was sweating a lot. I think it was June or July. It was and I felt like I was sweating, and I was just doing a lot of moving around for a couple of days. And the first night that I was back and I was sweating a lot, I know I was tired and I wanted to go and take a shower. There's only one full bath, and the other family member was up there, and they were annoyed with me, or because I was nagging them to get out of the bathroom or whatever. And I was tired, so I ended up falling asleep. Okay, a little bit sweaty, and I took a shower the next day. Well, after that, I don't know, I started to feel a little funny, right? And then within a week, I felt sort of symptoms of a UTI. And I thought, well, that makes sense. I was on the road. I was drinking less fluids. I came in. I was sweaty. I was dehydrated. Sweat has bacteria. I waited. I should have stayed up late that night and taken a shower then. Blah, blah, blah. So, I no longer had a doctor here, because the doctors that I used to see before I moved south in 2015, one of them knew the family for years, 20 years, and we used him. He had died. And then another doctor that I used and had a relationship with, he got divorced and left the area. And I thought, well, it's just a UTI. And, And I don't have medical insurance because I was waiting till I turned 65 for Medicare because generally I'm healthy as a horse. So I thought, oh, there used to be a Planned Parenthood around. They check for UTIs. Let me go on the internet and Google it. I Google it and find out they have an app where they do like these telehealth, and they'll do a telehealth for birth control or UTIs, things that are minor. So I end up getting antibiotics, blah, blah, blah. Make a long story short, I had to go through 2 different types of antibiotics, blah, blah, blah. But the UTI, after a while, went away, okay? It took a little bit of an effort, but it went away. And this is my first time with the UTI, so what did I know, right? So everything's fine. I enjoy the summer, blah, blah, blah. We go back. We go on a couple of cruises, blah, blah, blah. Everything's fine. Life is happy. You know, you see all the little videos. And we did an early birthday celebration with another cruise in March. Like that was my birthday cruise, like a month early. Because I knew in April I wanted to come back to New York earlier this year, you know. And, also there were issues with my mother stopping here, stopping there. I'm trying to make the story fast. So we went on a cruise in March, right? And again, we're on the road. Maybe I didn't drink enough fluid because I don't like that feeling of having to pee, especially after the virus. I try to avoid strange, gas stations and public restrooms. So I get back in March, and a few days after we're back, again, I feel the symptoms. And I actually had a little stockpile of antibiotics. Once again, take them. I had some probiotics that I took along with them. And I think it took about 10 days, but then it seemed like I was fine. Everything was fine. Enjoyed my birthday, blah, blah, blah. Came back at the end of April, right? No. Was it April? Came back and forth. Okay. Yes. Then I come back again in, I think it was June. I didn't have my coffee yet, so I'm still half asleep. Come back this time, right? And it feels like, well, maybe there's another UTI coming, but I'm not really sure. And it's not really good to take all these antibiotics. So let me just wait and see. So the bottom line is I still had a surplus of antibiotics. And so about maybe a month ago, I don't know, I started taking them. Maybe it was a little over a month ago. I started taking them, and after like 10 days, it still felt like it was not right. And I felt like messed up. Plus, I was taking a new type of probiotic. And then I was feeling like this horrible back pain, and I was just feeling like messed up. I can't explain it. I felt like I was drugged. I felt really, really messed up. And so, for the first time in my life, I called an ambulance because I thought I was getting a kidney infection. I called an ambulance. I called 911. An ambulance came. They took me to a local hospital. When they first checked me, my blood pressure was high. And I was afraid I was like going into shock or something. I felt like really like horrible. So I get there, and then like that crazy feeling sort of calms down, that shock feeling, but I still have all the other UTI symptoms. The nurses come in, they do a preliminary workup. They take blood and urine. They take my blood pressure, blah, blah, blah. They have me waiting there, and they tell me, oh, that other antibiotic isn't working. Here's a new prescription. Then they gave me a couple of pills before they discharged me. And they said, but you need to follow up with your own physician. I said, I don't no longer have a physician in this location. Then they put down the name of like a health center, but it was on the other side of the river, and I knew there was one closer to where I live. So they said, just do a follow-up. So I get home, and I make an appointment a few hours later, You know, I had to pick up a prescription from the drugstore. They called it in from the hospital. I start taking the new antibiotic and the probiotics. I make an appointment. I think it took about a week, and they scheduled me with a gynecologist. Okay, so at this point, I'm getting nervous, not just in the doctor's office, but before going to the doctor's office, because I start Googling things, and I had done like a over-the-counter urine test that showed that I had some bacteria in my urine. You know, and I'm Googling my symptoms and, you know, my age and this and that. And one of the potential causes is cancer. And that scared me because, you know, come on, that's scary. So I go to see the doctor here, the gynecologist, and they do a complete history, take blood, and, no, not blood, they took urine. And they said, we're going to do a pap smear too. And this is gross. She had a problem getting the speculum in, and it wasn't her problem. Apparently, my physiology changed. She was able to do the pap smear. It was a nightmare. I was in pain for her to get the speculum in. There was bleeding afterwards. They had me give a urine sample after all this, and there was a good amount of blood in the urine. So I'm assuming that the V got like a scratch or irritated and bled. She had a hard time. It seemed like something is prolapsed in my lower pelvic area, but I have these other symptoms. And before I left the hospital, they gave me a printout of my blood and urine tests, and certain areas of it came out abnormal. So yeah, what do you think I did? I Googled it. So I'm scared because since all of this has happened, I've been in pain every day. I have sort of like some signs of UTI. It doesn't burn when I pee. It just hurts. I can't say 24/7, but just about every day I have pain inside of my bladder. It feels like an itchy, stinging, burning feeling. Sometimes I don't have it. Sometimes it's mild. Sometimes it's severe. Sometimes I have back cramps. I've had times, and I just continued the probiotic. I felt like I was also having a reaction to the probiotic. The antibiotics were making me feel exhausted. It was making me feel depressed. The probiotics were making me feel like anxious, and it was like getting my blood pressure up. And basically, I have little to no support around me where I am now. And I'm really scared. I have an appointment coming up in about a week to see a urologist locally. And I want him to do that test where they put like a catheter in and they has a camera and they look at your bladder, because that can kind of start the ball rolling to see if you have cancer or not. But in the meantime, the gynecologist recommended see a urologist and also a urogynecologist. Okay, that's more like someone that treats like prolapses and things like that. And she said very little, the doctor that examined me, but she said, I don't think you have a UTI. And I'm like, okay, you know, I didn't ask her too many, you know, like everything was like in a shock. Plus I have to worry about paying out of pocket for all of this, okay? So anyway, I don't mind, like I have a choice. If they give me like a diagnosis, like, oh, you have a prolapse or you have this condition, I don't care. But God, who wants to have cancer? So I've been upset. I've been crying. I've been ruminating. I've been reminiscing because I'm afraid I have cancer. And I'm uninsured. And I don't know if I have it, and if I do have it, at what stage. But all this started a little over a year ago. And You know, Google is your friend, but sometimes Google can scare you. And I think I'm sharing this because I want a lot of love and support and prayers. But also, if I would have known this, I think I would have done something a year ago. I didn't know, you know. I had been healthy as a horse. My 89-year-old mother with dementia is still alive with vitals like you wouldn't believe. My father, who had medical problems at the end of his life, lived to be 86. My sister's older than me. She's in excellent health. For the most part, I always had good health. My kids, for the most part, you know, had good health. So, like, for this to happen, it's like it came out of left field. It really, really came out of left field. But there definitely is some kind of prolapse thing going on. I did have 2 children. They were both like basically 9 pounds, and they were too big to be born the traditional way. They were both C-sections. So yes, there was pressure during pregnancy of extra large children on a 5'4" woman, you know, carrying giant babies. So, I'm afraid, and it's going to be what it's going to be. But I would like prayers, and anyone out there that's experiencing anything, don't brush it off. Don't be dismissive. Don't let a healthcare professional dismiss your symptoms. Make sure that you take care of yourself, and don't be afraid to call an ambulance. Don't be afraid to seek out medical care. Your life is worth more than having a little bit of debt and some unpaid medical bills or some inconvenience or copays if you have insurance. So everybody out there, take care, and please find it in your heart to send prayers and love to someone right now who really needs it. Love you. Bye.